Thank you for taking the opportunity to join us this morning for this conference. This, of course, is an important event and an important topic that we are discussing here today, because innovation is what drives us and drives different economies to be better than others. It was because of innovation that we are where we are today.
This is the first urban innovation knowledge sharing exchange and also the first national level event that brings the urban and the innovation policy communities together to network and also to share experiences.
When we prepared the National Development Plan, urban innovation wasn't really part of our vocabulary, wasn't really part of our consciousness. We knew about national systems of innovation, but we hadn't necessarily heard the term urban innovation. But soon after the National Development Plan was completed, we were introduced to the idea, and we found it compelling as a basis for a partnership between the National Planning Commission and the Gauteng provincial government, as a conceptual and a practical tool for implementation of the NDP.
And how do we manage, in all our history of human beings, to live in cities like this? So innovation is one of the answers.
As an urban designer, I'm always looking for urban innovations that affect the public space. Why it's so important to me? It's because the public space is where people can share their knowledge, share their experience, and also share their responsibility for the city.
Urban innovation for spatial planning is when new things come to Earth and stay constantly and become a routine. Innovation is not simply a new solution, it's rather a novel solution that is seen as an improvement. This solution is spreading on different places with different conditions and different problems, and there becomes a routine.
The Gauteng City Region Observatory, as Rashid mentioned, is a partnership between WITS and UJ, the Gauteng provincial government and local government. And we get our core grant from the provincial government, as well as funding from local government, specifically around the quality of life survey. And what we do is help build the knowledge base that can assist government, the public sector, business, and society develop the Gauteng City region to become more competitive, spatially integrated, sustainable, and socially inclusive.
It's a great pleasure to be here to launch the Partnership for Urban Innovation, where some of the best research products by our scholars will be showcased tomorrow, because it's not just theory and academic stuff, but practical ways to finding innovations and solutions to some of the complex problems that are confronting large cities or mega cities or cities that are experiencing rapid in-migration or movements of people.
We're dealing with issues around transport plans, transport data, knowledge-driven solutions. Transport is a key to social and economic transformation. We'll also get a case study on the San Francisco incentive for public transport, as well as presentations on a transit-oriented development lab.
The question is, how do we, in a South African setting, at the same time move from organized chaos that kind of works and gets us around to more order, more organization, and more benefit to the end user? And the answer lies in infrastructure, in better operations, better regulations, better policy, buy-in of all stakeholders. But also a critical component of this is this concept of infrastructure. the information layer above infrastructure and operations that allows for the matching of supply and demand.
Public transportation is one of the most important determinants of life opportunities and prosperity, especially in South Africa, where we have historical conditions which have set up a dualistic society. So some of our current planning practices often perpetuate these realities and of separation, inequality, and poverty. And by addressing challenges, especially within the taxi industry, we have the opportunity to impact the growth of our economy, increase accessibility to opportunities, and improve people's lives.
So recently in South African cities, large investments have been made in public transport infrastructure, such as the Gautrain in Joburg and bus rapid transport in other metros. However, many people in South Africa are still using private vehicles for commuting, which indicates the need to change current commuter patterns of behavior, also through travel demand strategies such as incentives.
Over the last decade, transit-oriented development has become a dominant policy tool which is being used to drive an innovative approach to addressing social and economic transformation. Our role in that is to start thinking about how to persevere, how to not stop if the policy doesn't seem to be effective, or if it is effective, how to keep on going, how to spread the message wider, how to get others to see it.
We're going to be looking at innovation and work, and it's really about how innovation can lead to, I suppose, broader employment participation in the economy. And I think we can together explore it. I think it's quite open-ended. So they're going to plant a few seeds, and if we can discuss what they're doing, that would be great. And how, I suppose, how we can take what they've looked at, how we can take it forward.
How do we make the city to breathe innovation? And I know that this sounds like a cliche, but similarly to the city of Johannesburg, we do have some programs that we've really implemented to ensure that we're able to get innovative ideas into the city. And open innovation is one of those platforms that we believe has assisted us in making a difference in the institution.
I think the key here is three things. What are the issues we're trying to address? What do these instruments look like that people are going to be putting forward? And then the third one, and this is the key one, can we take those to scale? Can we implement them in other places?
The most important thing to do is to operate in the real world, see how we can use the insights and even the techniques that gets developed at the theoretical and in a scientific way, and actually apply those to the real world in terms of decision making, in terms of practice, in terms of operationalizing ideas.
One of the incentives is basically the city has invested or is investing in infrastructure within the corridors, both bulk and social infrastructure, as well as a range of transportation infrastructure. At the moment, the city is spending 3 billion rands in 3 years within the corridors, excluding the BRT infrastructure, which is financed at 1 billion annually. And the nice thing about this is that development planning, which is the project leader and responsible for drawing up these plans in the corridors, is given some sort of funding to fund catalytic projects and to decide on where those should be in the corridors and when they should happen.
Looking at unemployment and poverty, have you considered how to measure the informal economy? Are you looking at understanding the informal economy?
Basically, what is happening is we loan money to put in the infrastructure and finance that loan with the future tax value.
The key issue here was understanding some of the main perspectives and then the potential problems in actually replicating some of the techniques used in Brazil, and what could be the prospects for South Africa in terms of applying some of the innovative ideas that Brazil has adopted.
The thematic problem statement on which the research is centered is the gap market. It is a well-established issue in South Africa and occurs where a household earns above 3,500 Rand a month and therefore cannot qualify for a subsidized house, and at the same time cannot enter the open housing market, primarily as a bond for the required value is not accessible on their income. It is also shown that in London, a similar circumstance exists.
And when looking at the papers, it became immediately apparent to me that share was being used in a multiplicity of different ways and different definitions, and very interesting ways as well. And to my mind, what came to mind to a large degree was this idea of sharing as co-producing the city, of different kinds of actors and activities coming into play to produce different kinds of spaces, and in many ways, shared spaces.
Which actor, the private or the public sector, will be responsible for the social support service and all the property management of the buildings after it?
I agree, and it's a very good point that the financial management at the household level is going to have a large impact.
Just to say that, this colloquium was really about two things mainly. The first one was about placing the idea of urban innovation on the agenda so that we can get the important people to talk about this in the first instance, but also to expose what is already being done, kinds of innovations that are already underway in a whole range of areas. The colloquium was supported both at organizing stage as well as over the last day and a half by a long list of colleagues from the Innovation Hub, the Department of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation, and the Office of the Premier. So to all of you, thank you very much. We have come to the end of this.
Thank you.